Okay, creativity. What does it mean to be creative? And why do you want to be creative? And how can you be more creative? And how can you be creative in a way that is aligned with your true heart? I think a lot of people, I recently met someone who came to a Unicult potluck, and we were drawing pictures of inventions that we thought the world needed. And while she could come up with some inventions, she was actually absolutely terrified and petrified of drawing. She hadn't experienced the safety or freedom that should have been afforded her as a child to be able to draw. And so when I put a box of colored pencils in front of her, she was absolutely terrified. She started to have a panic attack. I think that all people feel this way about art to varying degrees. I think that what we do is we feel like we are not capable. And this might be just how do you feel capable to make art in a way that is acceptable or in a way that you're trained to do. Let's say that you are making art and you have creative expression and you studied painting and you feel confident that you can paint. But when it comes to digital art, you start to have anxiety attacks because you feel like you're not trained digitally and you feel like you don't know your way around a computer. So what I'm going to try to do today is break through all these barriers and these boundaries that you might have in your brain and help you identify when you have these things come up that are restricting you creatively, that are telling you these stories in your head that you're telling yourself that maybe somebody else told you and that you internalize into your reality. These stories that we're listening to of negative understandings, of limited belief sets, and of limited belief sets around creativity and creation. The first thing that we can understand is that creativity and consumption are two halves of the same whole. You need both. There are aspects of creativity that involve lethargy, relaxation, contemplation, and inactivity. That is actually part of the whole of creativity. So I think a lot of times if we want to be creative or if we're standard creative and we think, I'm a creative person, if you're one of those people who can confidently say, yes, I'm an artist, then you're going to have periods of downtime and periods of lethargy. And unless you are understanding that that is actually part of the creative process and giving yourself the potential and the power and the joy to be able to go into those states of non-action, you're going to have a hard time and be down on yourself. So I want to say to you, remember, lethargy, relaxation, periods of inactivity are part of the creative process. That is absolutely important for productivity when we're talking about a holy version of productivity that isn't just a capitalist one. So allowing yourself to feel the full spectrum of what it means to be creative, of what it means to be lethargic, of what it means to relax, of what it means to be inspired. Inspiration for many of us is like a drug. It comes through us. We feel it's actually coming from the higher realms. It comes through us. Our bodies and our minds become electrified, and we want to create. Now, I think there's nothing worse than being electrified with creativity and with inspiration, but having no confidence or ability to bring that inspiration into the world. And that's really what this sermon is going to be about today. If you are someone who feels insecure or disheartened or unable to bring your ideas and your inspiration into the world, I'm going to urge you today to try to tap into what beliefs you have, what stories you're telling yourself, what thoughts you're having that are limiting you from being able to bring things into this world. Oftentimes, these things include comparing ourselves to other people. We say, well, what I want to create isn't like what other people want to create. When you feel that way, just maybe think about me. I created a cult. I'm trying to create an entirely new system of understanding. I still get down about this fact. I say, well, no one understands what I'm doing fully. I'm the only person who understands my mission on earth, who understands my creative drive, who understands why I'm doing the things I'm doing. I was being attacked this morning about different things about being sex positive. I mean, I wake up to these messages that people send me. Someone's upset that I'm sex positive. Someone's upset that I have an online store. They think that I'm a business person. They don't understand that I'm creating new systems that are outside of greed-based profit. That's okay. I don't need people to understand me in order to be productive. As long as I'm not being hindered physically in my work, I can continue on. So when we're comparing ourselves and our life path and our own true expression to other people, and we say, oh, well, I want to paint like this person, but you can't paint like that person because you're not meant to paint like that person. You're meant to paint like yourself. Sometimes other artists and other individuals can be inspiration. And there's a line that you cross when you look at someone's work and you're inspired by it and you get actual energy and motivation to create artistically through looking at their work. And then it crosses over into comparison. That's where you want to be mindful. That's where you want to be aware of crossing over into that negative cyclical mindset that's actually going to be limiting you. So analyze your own emotions and your own thoughts and your own vibration when you're thinking about these things. When you're thinking about your favorite artists or your favorite people or your mentors or your favorite creatives or people who you wish you were like, when do you get inspired and when does it cross over to where you feel hopeless or helpless, like you're not as good as they are? That's not a real thought. That's not something that is even possible. We need to develop the skill of looking at every individual from a unique perspective, from rising above the societal expectation of competitive comparison mindset. And we need to see the unique nature and gifts that every person has and every person brings to this planet. You have a complex set of unique individual talents, a unique paradigm, a unique way of seeing the world with unique skill sets and a unique way of having been raised that you have to offer the world. Maybe what you do isn't like what other people do. That's okay. That's normal. So like we were saying, listen to your inspiration and listen to your body. And if you want to rest, allow yourself to rest. If you want to create, allow yourself to create. Second of all, take inspiration from other people, but don't let it disable you. Don't use comparison. And the next thing is, how do you tap into that unique spirit, your unique gifts? Well, if you feel like you're not good enough at creating something, do your best not to focus on your quality. Focus on it enough to where you can create a higher quality of media. For me, it was with my music videos. I didn't have a nice camera. I didn't know how to shoot shots. I didn't have anybody helping me. I was setting up my Canon on a tripod and it sometimes shuts down. It's an old camera. It doesn't really work very well. And sometimes my shots are out of focus. I'm by myself most of the time when I'm doing this thing. Sometimes I'll have one other person helping me, but I don't even know how to help them help me because I barely know what I'm doing. And I had this idea in my head. I'm not going to get to the level that I want to get to until the quality of my media is higher. And I kept working on my music and I kept working on my music videos. And a lot of times I felt really down on myself because I felt like I wasn't producing content at the quality that I wanted to be at because I wanted to be in this pop culture mass media way. Well, little did I know the sheer amount of money and people, experts of little things that go into this. It's not like, oh, you just learn how to make music videos and you can make a music video. You can, but it's gonna be a different quality than what you see when Rihanna makes a music video because she has an entire team of people who are experts in finite details that unless you dedicate yourself to each of those details for several years, you're not going to reach that point. So what happens now that I actually am at a place where I have understood a lot of these concepts, where I have developed a lot of these different skills, and I look back at my old media? Do you know what I see? I don't see some embarrassing piece of garbage. No, I'm inspired. I see pure inspiration, and I see how other people can see it in that way too. If people don't see that, then they're only looking for certain things. So what I'm trying to say is, from my experience, Don't be so caught up in the quality. Don't be so caught up in the professionalism. What's real and what's important and what is conveyed is the heart. Think about all the musicians who you know and love who sing in a weird way that isn't in a, it's not operatic. It's not like this perfect singing way. There's people who can hardly play their instruments. There's people whose recording software, they're using tape decks and you can hear it, but it's endearing because what's happening is their heart is coming through. Focus on quality if you feel like it's going to add to your art, but use your heart to guide yourself. If you feel scared or worried about your art and you feel embarrassed or you feel like you're not good enough, know that that's not real. Focusing on the quality of your craftsmanship isn't art. It's a flourish on art. It's like a cherry, like a it's an extra thing that you can add to your art. Quality is not your art. Craftsmanship is not your art. Your art is your heart's true expression. So how do you tap into that? It's hard, especially when we've got so much insecurity, fear, pain, guilt, awareness, comparison, all of these things. Sometimes drugs can help. I don't necessarily recommend drugs always, but cannabis or marijuana is a really good one for letting go of that inhibition and connecting with your true heart and your true expression. If you live in a state where it's legal, then you can try to use that drug to help yourself feel free. You can also do this just by meditating for a little bit and giving love to that part of yourself that is expressing yourself truly and creatively. Who is that child self who wants to express themselves? Think about what you did as a child, how you saw the world. Spend time in meditation talking to your child self, looking through the eyes of your child self. You still carry that child self with you. What kind of art, did your child self like to do? What were your passions? So when you start to connect to that playful energy where you haven't yet been brainwashed by societal expectation and comparison and standards, tap into that pure energy of your pure heart and value what you're bringing in. Who you are and what you have to offer is unique and important. Laughing, evolution driven by drug use. I don't know. I think drugs have helped a lot of humans. I think they're here to help us if we use them correctly. They have to be used correctly. Nobody sees the world like you, and that's a beautiful thing to share. It's true. And that's your art. That's the essence of your art. That's the substance and essence of your art. So I have to go. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope that this helped. Today, I would encourage you all to try your hand at something creative. Even if you feel like you're not creative at all, I would draw with colored pencils or with crayons. That can be a really fun thing to do. Get one of those adult coloring books or just draw on a piece of paper. Create something, or even just create something in your own mind of what you would want to create if you had all the resources in mind. Okay? Thank you so much for joining. Uni bless. Uni hello. Goodbye.